Today is primary election day in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Kentucky, Idaho, and Oregon. But do you ever find it difficult to distinguish between the candidates on your ballot, especially during a primary when so many share the same party designation and say they believe largely the same things? Well, joining me now to discuss a new resource available for staying up to date on everything you need to know heading into the midterms and every election is Debbie Wuthnow. She's the president of iVoterGuide. Debbie, great to have you on the show today.
Great to be here.
Well, it's good to see you. This is a great day to be talking about this. Several states are having their primary elections. What's your feeling? You work to educate voters year-round, which is something that most people aren't doing. A couple of days of the year, most of us are thinking about elections. You're thinking about it constantly. What are you thinking about on primary day?
I'm thinking I wish more Christians would turn out to vote in the primary is the biggest thing that I think about. The turnout in primaries is about 20% of registered voters, and that's abysmal. And I think that most people that don't go to vote do so because they lack information about the candidate. So that's why iVoterGuide exists. We are a Christian ministry. We are a division of AFA Action, and we exist for people who love Jesus and love America and want to vote wisely and be good stewards of our vote. And we do that by giving information on the candidates. We research them, we evaluate them, and it's all available to you at iVoterGuide.com.
Debbie, we've been working on this issue for a long time together. And I say with all sincerity, I believe iVoterGuide is the best voter guide resource I'm aware of because it surveys candidates, it looks at their voting record. Another critical piece of information it provides that is very helpful is the donations that they receive and the endorsements that they receive. And the truth is, sometimes you can learn everything you need to know by looking at who has endorsed a particular candidate. If they have the right endorsements, it's very good. If they have the wrong endorsements, it's a really good sign that they do not deserve your support. And this is one of the few places, in fact, it's the only place that I'm aware of that has aggregated all that information into one place. But Debbie, you made the point about people not voting because they don't have information. I think there's a lot of people who lament the apathy in the church. They hear the numbers that you referred to in the primary, only 20% of evangelical Christians vote. It's better in general elections, but still lower than it should be. Do you think that's a function of apathy, or is it more the fact that people don't have the information that they need to feel like they can make an informed choice?
I think it's a combination. And I think the 20% is in the church and out of the church. It's just Americans that don't participate in elections and lack of information, not wanting to be involved in saying politics is dirty or there's no good guy. Well, I will tell you when it comes to November and there's no good guy on your ballot, the real choice you have is most likely in the primary. Because that's in 80 to 90% of districts, especially more true after redistricting. The true choice happens in the primary because the legislative districts, both for Congress and for your state legislature, are drawn to strongly favor one party over the other. So you're choosing between people with a D or people with an R. And that's where the information is more lacking and where it's more needed, honestly. And that's why iVoterGuide exists. So we do cover the Republican primary in all 50 states, even the 5 that are on the ballot today, and the rest of them throughout the year, covering federal candidates in all 50 states and statewide and state legislative candidates. And I will tell you, Joseph, I think campaign finance data is one of the most important pieces of data, because what somebody does with their money, who they give money to or who they choose to receive money from, tells a lot about what is important. And iVoterGuide's unique evaluation of candidates is really what I, as an average voter, find helpful in identifying the political philosophy and potentially even the worldview of the candidates that are on the ballot, because all of that factors into how we rate those candidates.
Yeah. Now, Debbie, you guys do a candidate survey as well that you send and then report the responses. I'm actually of the opinion that it's becoming easier to distinguish candidates' worldview. And I know that this is not currently on your survey, but maybe in the future, you might consider the question that I think at this point cuts down the middle very easily to determine the good guys from the bad guys. If we just ask, can men get pregnant? The answer to that question tells us to about 95% certainty what a candidate thinks about almost everything. So at the risk of oversimplifying this process, and I know it's not actually that simple, but maybe consideration for future issues. But Debbie, to the current climate that we're dealing with, what issue in your judgment is motivating the voters most this year?
Well, there have been some polls out there that the economy and inflation and the border are all very high on voters' minds as they look at the changes that have happened in America in the past couple of years. So immigration and border security, I think the life issue, the left has gone pretty far left on the life issue. And with the Dobbs ruling hopefully coming out, it's going to be really important that you know where your state legislator stands, because all of that's going to move to the state. It's going to be important you know where your governor stands. So there's a lot of issues that are on the minds of voters, and we try to cover as many of those as possible on our survey as well as on our scorecard.
And you do a terrific job of it. Again, it's iVoterGuide. You can find it at iVoterGuide.com. It's also a partner of FRC Action, and you can find it through frcaction.org. Click on Voter Resources. Debbie Wuthnow, thanks so much for all your efforts on behalf of all of us.
Thanks, Joseph.